Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Things That Matter with me, Martie McNabb. So, as many of you who've been listening over the last couple of years know, I often end up knowing my guests fairly well, but today's guest is kind of unusual how we connected. But I think through our shared experience, there's been lots of connections, and maybe in the past lives or future lives or who knows. But I'm grateful to have connected with Blair, who goes by BL Mostyn. And I have connected with Blair through Alexa Bigwarfe's work, which is Write, Publish, Sell. I was hired, and also Women in Publishing. I was hired to be one of their speakers or facilitators of a workshop recently, actually, like a month ago, perhaps, like not even that. And and Blair was not able to attend the live event, but she listened to the replay and reached out to me and said, because the whole point of this workshop with Alexa was to encourage writers to consider alternatives to traditional book launches and to consider how they can connect more deeply with their audience and build their audience. And one of the ways I feel is by sharing more about themselves, because as icky as marketing is, it's just telling our stories and letting people into our lives a little more and more each day. And so when Blair reached out to me and said, that makes perfect sense. I'm always telling stories, and this is a simple way to tell stories of the things that we surround ourselves and adorn ourselves with, the things we keep, the things that matter, and the things that we'll leave behind. So, without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Blair or BL to show and to the show and tell section of this part of our episode where she will show an important photo and share its story, and then we'll continue our conversation. So 1 minute, and I will hand over the floor to you, Blair.
Well, thank you, Martie, for letting me be here today. I'm so excited to be speaking with you and all of your wonderful viewers and listeners out there. And when I listened to your session on memories and objects that triggered memories, this one popped up right away for me. So this is obviously a photo of myself rather recently, but this was taken at a conference that I was attending. I actually, for my day job, am in marketing. It's very different than book marketing, but we did this activity where we dug inside ourselves to come up with a meaningful memory and then write our learnings of them on our body. So if you can sort of see on my crossed arms, it says, I kept dreaming. And the story that inspired this photo was that I began writing when I was quite young, before I can even remember. But the series that I'm working on now actually began when I was 13. And because we all enter a phase in our life that we're not totally happy with the way things are going. So writing was my escape. It was my way of facing my problems with a sword and a shield, opposed to the powerlessness that I was facing. So I started writing fantasy books. And when I was 13 years old, and I had actually written an entire novel, it's the first novel in the series that I'm writing now, many, many years later. And I gave it to my father because when you're 13, you don't have a huge audience to work with. And, he read it and he looked at me and he said, it's good, but it's not very good and it's not great. And looking back at it as an adult, I feel that was his way of encouraging me to keep going, keep trying, refine the craft. But as a 13-year-old girl, it was kind of hard. It hit me a little bit in the emotional space, and I felt that he was doing the opposite and being like, you're just an okay writer. Maybe you should find something else. But, writing was a part of and is a part of who I am, down to the core of me. And I kept going. And I kept writing in this series, in this world. I came out with 8 novels, and between books 7 and 8, I noticed some reoccurring characters that were popping up here and there. And I'm like, I wonder what their story is. And so I came up with the prequel to the entire series. It's called Heroes of Another Age. I just published it last month, so your session couldn't be better time for me, so thank you. Um, but it's about a story about two brothers finding their own path. It's a bit of a coming of age and family bonds and reluctant heroes. And a lot of that mirrors what I was going through in that time of my life, finding a way to get through my problems, growing into the person that I would become. And through this journey and remembering this in that session, in that conference that I was at, I realized that, I did keep dreaming. And, maybe his advice worked in a way that I didn't expect. Maybe it was just my passion driving me on and I couldn't stop. But I've become a real author, and I think that my 13-year-old self would be very proud of me.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love how Blair, you talked about how your father's advice he might not have included understanding a 13-year-old's experience and how they were going to take it. Because I had a similar experience with an art teacher who did a similar thing to me. And I stepped away from art almost entirely until many, many years later as well. And when somebody else said, "What, are you kidding? You're not a traditional artist, but you're still a creator, a creative." And it's so interesting to end up, because I also didn't think that art teacher really meant to do it, but it's the impact at that time that it had. So I have a question about, like, we like I said, we normally have somebody with that brings an object, as opposed to photographs are unique in that they are objects, but they have other meanings to it. But that the follow-up question I always have is, what do you want to have happen to this photograph when you're dead and gone? And I'm going to leave the stage for you again, once again.
I'm just going to have the photo up in front of me so everyone can see it. Um, I was lucky enough to have two beautiful little girls. They are 12 and 9 right now, and they are my biggest supporters. They are wonderful, wonderful children. And, when it is my time to depart, I'd like them to have this photo, not just because it's a photo of their mother, but the message, "I kept dreaming," that those are my final words to them. It's that whatever your passion is, whatever your love is, whatever speaks to you, you know, go with that. Don't let it go. Let it grow and blossom inside of you and keep dreaming. Because that's, what life is all about.
A beautiful legacy, Blair, a beautiful legacy, all of it. And so this is this your first, again, like, you've written out, so you already have your other books, but this is the first, the prequel of yours. And how many books in the whole series?
So, as you said, I've written them over many, many, many years, and I'm having to rewrite them because as we age and we mature, our skills improve, and I've learned so much from publishing this first book. But I do have the outlines for all 8.5 books in the series that are to come. There's 4 novels, there's a novella in the middle, and then
Oh,
another 4 novels.
oh, cool. I've never heard of something like that. So that with a novella in the middle. That is so neat. My mom just finished yesterday the 15th book in a series, and she was so disappointed. So she is a much bigger and faster reader, voracious reader than I am. I love reading, but it's not, I don't like do it like she does. So she was so disappointed. So you're never going to disappoint your readers because you have many coming up. So so I one last question about the books themselves and the story. You outlined it a little bit, but I love the little introduction that you sent to me, but I didn't want to just use your own introduction, but I loved how you talked about magic or mystical or something like that. So can you explain a little bit more to my audience about this series, the basis of it and things like that?
I would love to. Thank you so much. So the book again is Heroes of Another Age, and it's about two brothers, Aaron and Aton, and they live this bucolic life up on a mountaintop in a cabin with their mother. And it's just three of them and a flock of sheep. And she's always told them that they were werewolves, but they never shifted. They never thought anything about it. And when they, were quite young, a little bit of an accident caused them to realize that they had even greater powers. They were even stranger than just being another species. Aaron has magic, and Aton is faster and stronger than a boy should be of his age. And it follows them really in three blocks of their life. So it starts out when they're six. It goes on to when they're 12. And when they turn 12, there's a tragic accident that makes them come to find that they have a greater destiny and they have to take a far journey to rescue a city that's on the brink of destruction, and that they have a greater calling in life. And Aton, the older brother, the stronger brother, believes that this is their calling and they're meant to be heroes. And Aaron says, I want to go back to bed. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And but he goes with his brother, and the two of them, they have to support each other, and they have to face this big terrifying world together, and learn about their skills and their abilities in order to fight this darkness that is going to be looming in their future. So again, family ties, and it's about destiny versus choice. And I wrote this whole series, this book and the whole series, this world, because I wanted to escape. And that's really also what I want to give my readers. I want to give them a break from this crazy world we're in right now. We all have so many stresses and so many demands on our time. And I want to take people someplace that's magic, that feels like a whole new world and a place that they can feel fulfilled. And that's my mission with this and all the other books that I'm going to write.
I love it. I love it. I love the and it's sort of like it ties in so well with the photograph that you brought too, like about destiny and having a what is your destiny and what is your passion and mission in life is to make like that's the one thing that I see with all my guests. It's like the important healing work. It's important healing work that you're doing with your writing and your book and your life. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, wonderful. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So, last thing before we wrap things up is I'm going to turn it over to you and of course, I'm going to put all of this in the show notes, but I want you to tell my listeners and watchers how they can learn more about you, where they can get the information, and how they can buy your book and support your work as an author.
Yes, I would love that so much. You can visit my website, blmostyn, mostyn.com. That has all of my information in it. It's got a great newsletter so you can keep up to date with events, places I'll be, things that are going on. Of course, when the show goes live, it'll be posted there. Also, you can buy my book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever you buy your books, it's available. And definitely check it out because it won a gold medal from the Literary Titans for fiction. So I'm extremely happy how this book is going. And I think that you'll really love it too. I've had rave reviews from people as young as 9 to as advanced as 76. So there really is something in the book for everyone. So please check me out. Again, blmostyn.com.
Oh my goodness, that is so great. I am so excited and for you and I would imagine like people end up asking about my show and tell events, my live events, and in person and virtual, and they're like, oh, well, who does it attract, and who's it like part of, who's your number one like target market? I'm like, I've had anyone one from
Great.
their teens to their 90s at the event, so it seems like you have a something to offer everyone. So thank you very much. And I one of the things that I was thinking of is you had mentioned about how you could use the information that you learned from the workshop that I gave, to continue to promote your book and your author, your being an author and getting out and to be known. And one of the things that I did, probably 3 years ago, is I did a 30-day challenge. You know how everybody does these 30
Yeah,
day
everybody's got a
challenges.
30-day challenge. Yep.
And I did it for, in September is Save Your Photos Month.
Mm,
So as am connected with the photo managers community before the Association of Personal Historians, as a legacy artist, and so I did every day. I picked an object that had a story that I surround myself with, and it was just and I encouraged other people to do the same. So, and you talk about events. If there's ever a chance, if you'd like to talk about doing an event virtual or with me supporting you, because you're in Maryland,
yeah.
correct?
Yep.
Um, then I'm happy to talk with you about how you could do your own show and tell to promote your book in person, or we could consider collaborating on something online as well. So you've got my contact information. I'd be happy to do that. And thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your story of because one of my themes is scars, tats, and piercings. So I've got 26 themes, and I was just like, so that's not technically but I imagine Sharpie took a while to get off.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you so
so
much for this opportunity. This has been fantastic.
thank you. Thanks again, Blair. I wish you all the best. And it sounds like a lovely adventure to go on with you and your book. And congratulations on winning your award. And I hope that we will stay in touch. And thank you, everyone, for listening today to this episode of Things That Matter. So think about what you surround yourself with, what you adorn yourself with, what you keep, what you'll leave behind, and think about and make sure that you're sharing these stories. It's not the things that matter, it's the stories that get attached to those things. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thanks again, Blair.
Thank you.